and they had canines tracking him. And so I'm out here on the scene, and I'm corresponding with my editor and another reporter with everything I've got, and they're typing it for me. So when I get back to the office, the story's already been up for 30 minutes, and my name's on it along with the other reporters because I'm just relaying. I'm doing the reporting, he's doing the writing. So that's a teamwork thing similar to this. But we knew that was, my editor and I, we still were kind of skeptical of this. Why would somebody in a nice neighborhood be stabbed in the middle of the day? It doesn't make sense. Black ski mask in the middle of the day, it's kind of weird. Why wouldn't you wait until night? I don't know. So the next day I got in, and my editor helps me look up property records to see who owns the house. Found out who owns the house, looked her up. She's a doctor. She's she's a chiropractor or something. She had worked for several different offices, so she had like 5 phone numbers. So I called all of them. Didn't work at any of the places anymore until I reached one that seemed to be her cell phone, and she answered, and I was scared when she answered. I was like, oh, so did you get stabbed yesterday? And she said, no, it was my daughter, and she's doing all right. She's in the other room right now, but she don't want to talk to anyone. She's just resting. And so she tries to get off the phone with me, and I'm like, oh, well, I was just wondering if you could tell me anything more about it. And she said, no, she's just recovering right now, and we don't want to talk to anybody. And so then we knew it was her daughter, it wasn't her. Oh, and I asked her what her daughter's name was, obviously. So we found out, actually no, I didn't, because we had to go to her Facebook, and she had 2 daughters. So then we had to go down those and chase both those daughters down and figure out where they were. And I can't remember how we figured out which one it was, but we found out that it was this particular daughter, or maybe the other daughter told us it was the other daughter. And then I looked up the woman who was stabbed's criminal record, and she had just a bunch of petty, like, speeding violations, late on payments. I think one of them was like credit card, not fraud, but just all these, and it was all recent, and it was all bang, bang, bang. And so she was troubled, if you would say. And so I had done all my homework. I'd figured out as much as I could about this person. And this is kind of similar to this Provost situation, because this is all piecing together different things that you know, and you have to throw certain things out and take certain things in. So I called the PIO at the police department and said, listen, this is everything I know. I'm just curious because if you can prove to the police that you know this much, they might be willing to tell you, okay, yeah, you're on the right track, or no, none of that's true. But I said, this is what I know. Is there any other details you can give me about the situation? And she told me, I can't tell you anything now, but it's squishy. And so I said, okay. And she said, I'll call you back tomorrow. So the next day she calls me back. This woman had stabbed herself 3 times because she owed family members money and was looking for sympathy. And we reported it. We're the first ones to report it. So those type of situations are where you just have to do your homework as much as you can. So that kind of helped me out, I guess, looking back in this situation, because you have to just wade through everything and get to what you know and ask the right people. But another one that prepared me for this was back in the fall when we did the mold stuff. We knew the mold thing when they closed Minton. We knew that was a big deal. And we also knew that there's no way that was just happening in one of the dorms. So we had access to that, anyone has access to it. It's not that they don't use it anymore since we did the story, but that maintenance request portal. And so what we decided, we took a step back, similar to here, and said, okay, how can we find out how big of a problem is this? So we searched every single mold request and found over 500 of them dating back only to last November. And that's how we came out with that story, and broke that, broke that all those different dorms had this much mold, and that even the newest dorm, Hilltopper Hall, had mold. And so thinking in the bigger picture, and that was also a huge team effort too. We had about 10 people on that. We went through like 2,500 pages on that thing. So if you think that one person's able to do that without going insane, you're insane. So teamwork there was huge. Organizing things, organizing information was huge. So in all, I guess, in this situation and the ones that prepared me for it, teamwork, organizing information, and taking a look at the bigger picture are 3 really important things to do in these type of situations.
So Professor Schmidt asked you about the hurdles. What would you say was your most helpful thing, like in covering the story? What was like your thing you were constantly coming back to for reference?
Probably those off-the-record sources, because they kept telling us, they kept tipping us off to different things and telling us things that might be happening, and it turned out that all these things did happen, and we were 5 steps ahead of it because we knew that. So working your sources off the record or on was probably the most helpful thing. Without those people, I'm not really sure. I mean, assuming that none of those people would talk to us, I'm not really sure how we would have been ahead of some of the stuff. But coming back to that was a common point of reference, and then just keeping everybody that was working on it in the loop was also a really important, helpful thing.
All right, so what is the last question I said you should always ask in an interview?
Is there anything else you'd like to discuss with us?
Well, so this past week, obviously, more stuff happened, and the provost resigned, which when Jeremy was in, I guess.
Yeah, so Jeremy, one of the editors was in here on Friday. I was interviewing him like I was doing this, and his email, or his pager, not his pager, his watch went off, and we found out that the provost resigned in the middle of the interview.
And that was something else that we had gotten a tip about on Thursday night, was that the provost was planning to resign on Friday morning, but they weren't sure. They said, I think this is going to happen, but I'm not sure. So what happened then was Thursday night, and that came in at like 10 o'clock. And I was back home at the concert, so the news editor she just wrote a story ready to press send on if she did resign. And so by the time she resigned the next morning, the story went up just like that. So you got to do your background work, get ahead of it, and that's another good tip.
You stake out the provost's house, see if a moving truck is pulled up.
We did that. We went to her office and saw if we could get her moving. I don't think we did.